We shall now move towards Business World Business Class. The lovely hostess here is Miss Swetha Ramesh. Today, beautiful Swetha ji has alongside her a handsome-looking gentleman by the name of Mr. Satya Akula. Mr. Akula is the CEO of Amyx. Let's join these two personalities in their conversation.
Hi, I'm Swetha Ramesh, hostess of Business World Business Class. I'd like to wish all our viewers out there a very happy July 4th weekend. Today I have with me a prominent guest from the DC metro area, President and CEO of Amyx Incorporated, Mr. Satya Akula. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, how long have you been in the U.S.?
Wow, it's been a long time. It's more than 30 years.
Okay, that's a very long time. That's a good amount of time you've spent here in the U.S., getting to know everything. So what year did you start your company?
So actually this company is not the first one. I started my first business in 1994, the company called the AC Technologies. I sold that company in 2004 and then became the president of Nortel Government Solutions. And then in 2008, myself and a bunch of other investors, we bought this company and became the CEO about three and a half years ago.
Wow, okay. So you've definitely been involved in a lot of entrepreneurship, starting a lot of different companies. That's fantastic. So is entrepreneurship something that you've always wanted to do?
I guess, when you're very young, you don't really know about what you're going to do, what you're going to study, So I definitely wanted to start something on my own when I got into engineering, maybe second year or third year, whether it would be in India or, in US.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did you get involved in Amyx?
Well, Amyx, again, as I said, about 7 years ago, we acquired this company. At that time, the company was very focused on, one particular capability and, one particular customer. So since I became the CEO, we expanded that into, 8 to 10 new customers and also expanded our capabilities from typical management and IT consulting to very specific to cybersecurity and, e-discovery, a lot of financial support. So we do about half and half, both management and IT consulting.
Okay. So looking toward the future, where is Amyx headed?
Well, that's a great point. Right now we are a small company, but we have a lot of growth ahead of us. Recently we won 2 big new contracts. One with USTRANSCOM, it's about $30 million contract, and also another $50-60 million contract with the Securities Exchange and Commission. So we are in the growth pattern, and in the next few years we want to grow much bigger than where we are, and also expand our capabilities specifically into cybersecurity and information assurance.
That's great. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So as a first-generation Indian immigrant, as a first-generation entrepreneur, how has having that identity helped your business and created a successful business? So
it's being a first-generation Indian and having starting the business in 1994. So there was not much support system. Mm-hmm. Now we have a lot of internet and a lot of mentoring opportunities. But in 1994, there was no internet. So you got to learn from your making the mistakes by yourself. But you got to have some intuition, and also you got to try to figure out what is the value you're providing to the customer. Mm-hmm. So those challenges are it's tough to deal with, especially being the first generation Indian. We are talking about we were not brought up in this country, so you got to deal with the not only the basic culture and also communications, and also how to deal with the employees of much older than you. Mm-hmm. So that's a challenge. Yeah. But I think overall, once you get into the saddle, you will figure it out. And you also watch other people how they deal with these kind of issues.
So you're really starting from scratch. You're dealing with all the different problems that entrepreneurs usually deal with, but you're also dealing with a new environment,
That's
something
right.
different.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a very, when you become the CEO, you don't think about, you're the CEO. You still think about, your normal, technical guy. You try to do more technical stuff, but also as a CEO, you have some advantage of, talking to the customers and talking to other prospective, partners. So it's a balancing act, because I was a very technical guy, and trying to move from technical to more management, and how to transition to more on how to deal with not just the technical problems, but a lot of other challenges that you face in the day-to-day life of a company.
So on the flip side, more specifically, as a first-generation Indian immigrant, what are some of those challenges that you had to deal with, starting your company?
So again, when you hire a lot of people, and this is business, right? People come and go. The first time I had a employee leave after few years with the company, I felt very personal. I hired this person on my own, interviewing, spent a lot of time, and also mentored him, and he moved up in the company. But when he was leaving, I felt very sad, because what did I do wrong? But after second time or third time, you understand that this is about business, nothing personal.
Yeah, keeping everything separate,
right.
That is a challenge. So growing up in India, how has that changed your perspective on business and opportunity in the US here today?
So when I was growing up in India, I always have different friends and the family, so you have to deal with a lot of different personalities, and especially when you are growing up in the playgrounds, you have different kinds of kids. So that kind of helped me here, because you have a more diverse kind of people here. So that background really helped me how to deal with different kind of people here.
So what are some specific values that you feel can really translate to the workplace today? Or do Indian values traditionally work in the workplace today?
Yeah, so as an Indian, I always get very personal with the friends or family. Here also, I tend to get very personal with every employee that works for me, whether it's fresh out of college, or somebody with a more experience than I do have. So you have to deal with different personalities, and I'm very comfortable, because you got to not only talk about the work, you got to connect with them at the personal level, whatever the interest may be, whether it's the sports or the music. You got to talk something beyond business. So that way you can kind of get to know these people beyond the work.
So you get to really understand your employees, you understand their point of view, and I would assume that really helps your relationships in the business world as well.
Oh, definitely. Especially I tell my employees, don't treat me like some CEO, and you have to take an appointment with me to talk. They can come. I have an open door policy. They can come anytime and say, hey, Satya, can I have 5 minutes of your time? It doesn't matter, again, what level the employee is. I'm open to talk to them, understand, what they want out of the discussion, and finally I make the decision, and they have to live with it.
So what were some of the first lessons or experiences that you had first coming to this country that really shaped the way you do business or your perspective on business now?
So again, I came to University of Maryland in 1982, And when I was graduating, economy was pretty bad. That was in the 83 time frame. So there was a lot of challenges, finding a job. So I really, worked hard to find my first job, and that taught me several things. One is nothing is easy. You got to work for it, and also once you get to where you want to be, and then you got to keep improving yourself. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
So that kind of helped me in the business too. It's not the first job or the second job, but when you're in business, you have to keep improving the company and the people around you who support you. Without their support, it's not about single person.
So you have to keep moving forward, but you still have to fall back on your employees, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also sometimes, again, it's a two-way street. People, they have to do their, their contribution, and also they can expect the reward and, back to them.
Okay. So if this current trend in first-generation entrepreneurs growing in society, rising in terms of economic status, if this continues, what are some of the social, some of the political implications that this has for the U.S. as a nation?
So, we all, we're all from India, and the first value we give all our kids is education, education, education. And we provide Indian families, provide the right mix of culture, both the new culture and the where we come from, the value system. I think all the parents, they put number one priority on the education. So that's very important. And also the kind of family and friend circle we have, very successful. So that provides the infrastructure and also provides a support system.
Yeah, a good example.
For all the first generation or second generation kids to perform well.
So if you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, what would that piece of advice be?
So a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to try it out, how I can be an entrepreneur, but trying out without 100% commitment is not going to work. So don't do half-heartedly. Just jump in all the way, sink or swim.
Both feet in.
Both feet in, sink or swim on the deep end, okay? Then you will figure out, how to swim.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This was Swetha Ramesh of Business World Business Class. Tune in at the same time next month. Thank you for viewing.